Hello, so my fam. So today we're going to learn to sew this beautiful gown. So we're going to make this bag, but that's for another time. But this gown, so we're going to make a 3/4 gown, length gown, and the sleeves is going to be slightly loose on the arm, and then this collar is going to be a unique collar. I like the way the collar flows on this side and the slim on this other side, and then there is an opening on the corner rather than the middle on this side. So we're going to make use of this stretchy fabric. So it's stretchy on one side and the other is not as stretchy. So this is what we're going to make use of in making this gorgeous gown. So stay tuned and learn. So first you just fold it into two, only the front part. We'll deal with the back part later on. And then the widest part of the body is 44 inches. So that's 11 inches, and I made sure I used the stretchy parts to face the width. Then I measured half an inch at the top and ruled it at the top. So after measuring half an inch at the top, we'll rule it, and then we'll now measure our shoulder. So our shoulder is 7.5 inches. So you measure exactly the inches. Our shoulder is 15 divided by 2, which is 7.5, and that is what we have at the top there. So after getting that, we will now measure it all the way down by 8 inches and rule it like this, and ensure that you don't forget your slant. So measured 8 inches, ruled it, and marked it to the other end. So after ruling it, would make sure we measure our slant. So our slant goes down by half an inch if half inch is at the top, but 1 inch all the way from the top to the bottom, that part's down up there. And then we'll use our ruler all the way to the edge, as you can see, above the line we've just drawn, and that's our slant. We form our slant. After drawing our slant, we measured the midpoint of our arm so that we can be able to go in for the front part. We'll go in by half an inch, that curve inside. So we'd use our curve ruler, merge it to the top, and then merge it to the bottom part like this. So immediately after that, we've gotten our curve and we're balanced. So just use our curve ruler. If you want to go out by half an inch so that you can be able to get that curve, you can do that. So we'll cut it out, and here is the outcome after cutting our shoulder and our armhole. So we're going to pin that down and raise it so that we can be able to see other parts clearly. So we'll place our measuring tape from the top and ensure that it's below the half inch measurement, and then mark and tag our underbust, our bust, our waist, our hip, and we'll do that to the other edge as well. So after tagging all that, we have our bust point, which is 10 inches, under bust, which is 14 inches, and our hip, which is 26 inches. So we'll just measure exact measurement like I told you earlier on. So because it's a stretchy fabric, we'll take the exact measurement. So every other part you're seeing outside the exact measurement, I'm cutting out and throwing away, because when we're going to sew, I'm going to sew in by 1 inch because I want it to be able to be fitted. I tried it out to leave an allowance to see how it looks. After sewing, it was so saggy and droopy on my body. So that's when I knew that okay, so you should stick with, especially if you check the texture of the fabric, if it is not too thick. If it is a very thick fabric that is stretchy to an extent and not too stretchy, then you can leave a little allowance like half an inch. But a situation where the fabric is excessively stretchy like this one, ensure you use the exact measurement. So you can see I measured it and linked it all up, and then at the bottom part for the around the below the knee, because it's a 3/4 skirt, it's a skirt that is below the knee and looks very ladylike. So I went in by 1.5 inch so that it can be able to grasp the leg very well. So you can go in, you use your hip measurement and go in by 1.5 inch, and then ruled it all the way to the bottom part. So here it is after it has been cut out. So now for the darts, for the underarm dart, so that we don't have that droopiness under the arm. So we're going to go down by 3 inches and then all the way out by 5 inches. So if because of the allowance, it should be around 4.5 inches. Because of the allowance, which is 1 inch, so I did 5.5. For you, there will be no allowance. So next we open wide the fabric so that I can be able to cut the front part properly. So now for the V-neck, we're going to measure 3 inches by the shoulder, and exactly 3 inches will mark at this other side of the arm. So if you want the v-neck to be on the left hand side, ensure you place it in a way that it's on the left hand side. If you want it at the right hand side, you place it on the way that is going to be at the right hand side. So I measured 3 inches from the edge like this and left an allowance of ½ inch, so that is a total of 3.5 inches, and then notched it at that edge. And then on this other side, so you know, normally the wideness of the midpoint is usually 6 inches because you do 3 inches. 3 plus 3, that's 6 inches. So we'll make sure that we'll take this, after measuring that 3.5 at that edge, we'll make sure that we stop at exactly 6 inches at this other point. But because of the sewing allowance, and I don't want a situation where it is too wide, so I ensured I did 5 inches, taking out half on the other side and half on this other side, so that when you sew it, it will just fall in perfectly. It will be the 6 inches exactly. And then our depth, I went down by 7 inches because that's the length I desire for the v-neck to form. I don't want my boobs exposed, so I measured exactly that and came out by 4.5 inches so that I can have that slant. And you see, because at the top it was 3.5, and at this point I did 5 inches. I did 5 inches or 5.5 depending on how you want your curve to be. So that's exactly 5 inches in, and then use our curve ruler to measure from that point all the way down. After doing that, I went to the other side, and you remember the other notched side, so we'd use our curve ruler again and merge the other side and form that v-neck on the edge. So I merged with the curve ruler to the bottom part like this, and voila, we have our v-neck at the corner of our arm. And we're good to go. So here it is after it has been cut out. Isn't this beautiful? And I turned it around and I can see it's on the right hand side. So now we'll move on to the back part of our dress. So we've gotten the measurements, it's the same thing as the front. Then we'll place the front part on top of the back part, pin it down, and ensure that we just cut the sides all the same. So trim it all the way to the top at the same levels. And then for the sleeve, the opening at the sleeve, the back is always different. The back is straight while the front goes in a little bit, like what we did in the front you saw earlier. So we'll just draw a straight line there and then cut that part, but leave the front part. So we'll cut everything out, and then the front part will open it for us to be able to handle the back part. So we'll just go down by ½ inch. You can measure ½ inch in the middle and then link it up to the side using your curve ruler, or just do it the way I just did here, freehand, and then cut it in just by ½ inch. After cutting it in, we're done with our gown. We move on to the sleeves. So the length of our sleeve is 31 inches. So I added 30 inches, but I added 1 inch for the sewing allowance at the top and also at the down part when we're folding. So it's quite long because it reaches all the way to the arm. So I took that measurement, and you'd notice I joined it at that edge of there because it was not enough. So I needed the wideness to be able to cut the sleeve at the top as well as to link it up to the down part. So you'd see how we would make wide the down part of our sleeve where it's going to be loosed at. On our waist being 6 inches, we measured 3.5 inches. So we measured and tagged it there and went so that we'll leave a little allowance there. You know, for the wrist, for it to be able to pass your palm, you need it to be a bit wide. So here it's not going to be too tight. And then we cut out every other thing that we need to cut out. Now, in placing the collar, we need to measure around the neck. So we measured from this point to this point, which is 9.5 inches. We left ½ inch at the top that is going to be used to sew. And then this other part as well, we measured 7 inches, 7.5 inches, 9.5 plus 7.5 inches. And then we also added our 7.5 inches at the top part and added it all up. So everything, we just join them all together. You'd see how we'll join it so that we can be able to get the exact. So it's good to always double check, be sure what measurement you have to make use of. So the length, the total length is 25.5 inches. So just mark it there at 25.5 inches. After marking out 25.5 inches, we ensure that we leave a ½ inch allowance for sewing on both sides. You see, I left a half inch allowance at that top, so the length of this is 4 inches. So I ensure that it was 4 inches all the way up, and then cut out all that needs to be cut out, and we'll move on to the next phase. So next we get a piece of paper that is 24.5 inches. Fold it up like this, and then after folding it up, we're going to pin it down and take our measuring tape and measure 1 inch up to get that curve. Measure it and mark it. So after marking it, we'd go to the midpoint. We'd locate the midpoint of this fold. So the middle part is 6 inches or 6¾ inches, and after that would now link it up from that side, from the 1 inch top to that side down there, and make a curve like this. So after making the curve, we go up by, that's 0.75, that is 3/4, and mark it there. Then go to the middle part and measure 1½ inch, and go to the back part and measure 2 1/4. So I'm going to make a video on how to use your measuring tape beautifully. That's the next video that will be coming up, is short. And then I'll link it up from that point down and from the midpoint to the other edge. So it's going to be wider in the middle and then slimmer as it comes down. So at this edge, we go in by 1/4 inch and then mark it. Get our curve ruler and link it up like this. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as it will help this channel grow, and you'd see more beautiful videos like this. You can even suggest the videos to even post. So here we're going to use our measuring tape and measure from this edge to this edge to ensure that it's exactly what we're looking for. And since it is, we'll move on to the next level. So after cutting it out, we're going to place it on our airstay, our cotton airstay like you've seen here, and then measure 1/2 inch all around. After measuring it, we'll trim it and cut it out like this and open it up. After opening it up, we have 2 parts of it. So I folded it in 4 and I have 2 parts. I want to make both parts thick. Trimmed out and threw out the excess. Then we have 2 parts joined together. So I folded it at the edge a little bit, the down part, and sewed it to that other edge and also folded it. You'd notice that I went an extra roll again and sewed for this other part because I wanted this part to be slim like you've seen here, and so that I can be able to make one edge slimmer and the other part thicker, as you can see in the drawing. So I trimmed off the excess and turned it around. So turning it around, here is the outcome. So back to our fabric, our gown, which is already sewn. So place this at the edge that we left out, that's the 1/2 inch edge we left out, and place it from the midpoint and join it, pin it all around to the other point. Anytime I'm sewing a collar, I'm always pinning it down so that it's going to be smooth. After sewing the first phase, I'll join the other part as well. And here is our outcome. Isn't this gorgeous? So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, as it will help the channel grow. Bye.